Now, I don't know about you, but from all the Sorare 26 innovations and announcements and developments that we've had, one of the elements I've been the most excited to get my teeth stuck right into for this upcoming season is Champion Rare Classic, which is going to be SO7. It's the top 5 leagues across European and world football, where you can use cards from any season gone by in Sorare. And those cards, which we call Classic, are generally the most affordable ones you're going to find at every scarcity in the game. This is me coming into my 6th season of playing Sorare, so I've got some very mature and some very well-rounded Champion Euro based collections, as well as having transfers migrate across European and world football from other collections I've had and other players that I've taken a fancy or a notion for that I've brought into the club. And now as we sit recording this video today, we are on the cusp of game week 1 for Sorare 26, and this is the primary strategy for me where I'm looking to use my legacy gallery to get me up and running in the in-season tournaments without going into the market and spending oodles of money on in-season champ cards. You know, I did the same sort of thing as this last year with the super rares that I had, which I don't have this year, and I've just put even more onus and resources and brain power really into just making sure that the rare strategy is as well-rounded and as effective as it possibly can be. Last year it was pretty effective, it just took a little bit too long for my liking to really get off the ground and to get up and running. So for this year, the New Year's resolution, or the new season resolution as it were, is hit the ground running. Bring in those cards as quick as possible and go after those streaks as quick as possible to make the Champion Euro element of my gallery even more profitable than what it was last year. In the video today, we'll break down the depth, the quality that I've got, the options that are available, as well as trying to highlight, you know, what it's going to take to go hard, to go strong in a classic competition in SO7 to try and win those cards that we probably can't afford to go and buy from the market itself. Now, if you are brand new to Sorare and you have not opened up your account yet, there's a link in the description in this video that will get you 150 dollars, pounds, euros, whatever your currency is, of market credit to go out and reinforce and to build your squad. Sorare are massive fans of the content here at Quinny 3001, and that link is exclusive to this channel. It is the best sign-up bonus you're going to find anywhere, and by clicking on that link you do support me and all the content here at the channel. So if you get stuck, if you've got any questions, jump into the comment section and I'll come and sort you out. And if you're after a beginner, tutorial, explainer, basics video, hints and tips or anything like that, the new to Sorare Start Here playlist is also linked in the description of the video. But let's just get stuck straight into this one, because like I said earlier, I have just been dying to get my teeth stuck into some Champion Euro SO7 action, because Champion Euro is the biggest leagues and clubs in European and world football, and you know, this is where it gets really exciting playing Sorare, playing with the best cards, playing with the best leagues, and trying to, you know, beat everyone else on the leaderboard and unlock, win, earn money and all those other cards that maybe, like I mentioned earlier, we might not be able to afford. Now, coming into this season, there is another change in the fact that we're going into SO7 rather than SO5 for the classic competitions, but we also now have 4 entries that we're able to submit into this competition. There's going to be 8 stars given out in the first week of the season. We don't quite have the Bundesliga back for this first game week 1, as it were, and Essence is getting paid out to the top 1,000 spots. This is going to be a really competitive competition that is going to take some superstar power if you're going to get into the very top end of the leaderboard, and you know me, I always fancy my chances to go for it. The first team that I've got here is dubbed Barcelona ball. So this is normally the team that really reflects the strategy, the tactics in the gallery, the players I really like the most, that I back to really go and attack the fixtures. And I've just about got 4 nailed on goalkeepers. There might be a 5th keeper that gets some minutes here and there between the likes of Paul Lopez, maybe Valdemarson, if you listen to the Kelleher injury reports, but between the likes of Oblak, Luis Jr., Geronimo Rulli and Anthony Lopez probably in last, especially playing PSG in the first match. I'm quite confident I've got some goalkeepers that are going to play week in, week out. They're in decent clubs that should end up towards the top of the table and are ultimately really good options. And for this game week, I actually have a really tough decision for who should be my number 1 goalkeeper. Do we go with the tried and tested Jan Oblak away to Espanyol, or do we go with Luis Jr., who is at home to newly promoted Real Oviedo? And it has to be Jan the man, doesn't it? Now, this is where I've already had a kind of test run through this, okay, but throughout the summer, I did put a bit of brain power, a bit of energy into reinforcing and rounding off the defence with some extra cards. Now, some players have transferred, some of them have had disrupted pre-seasons, some of them have transfer rumours around them, so not all of them are as stable and as ready to go for the start of the season as I would like them to be. But we do have that world class, that cut above the rest talent in defence, of course, which has been my mainstay defender in the game for the last 3 or 4 seasons, and that is Josko the Bosco Guardiola. Man City opening their campaign away to Wolves feels like a really good fixture. And then, beyond that, I don't really have another Guardiola level player. In the summer, I did speak about trying to get in a Nico Schlotterbeck, which I've not quite managed to do yet. But looking at this right now, it really does just hark back to, I think I need another Guardiola level defender to come in here and just be plug in and play. I'm not saying Guardiola's fixture proof, but really big Man City defender like that, you don't really care for the most part who they're playing against. They can always have a really good result. But what I'm opting to do for my first team is throw in Jeremy Frimpong, who will be making his Premier League debut at home to Bournemouth, which should be a very good game for Liverpool at Anfield. And with everything else going around Anfield at the moment, all the signings they've made, there'll be a bit of feel good factor in the air for the Jota family and all that kind of stuff as well. So I fancy that to be a good game for Liverpool defenders, especially a guy like Frimpong who's very final third capable. And midfield really does feel like my bag. Midfielders are the guys that I always have my eyes drawn to when I'm watching football, and my gallery is laced with lots of midfield talent, lots of midfield options, different shapes and sizes, different leagues. A few guys have transferred and all the rest of it. But as I come to set this up for today, I don't think there's too many fantastically clear and obvious this guy is going to smash game week 1. Now, I was rather enamoured as the season went on with Frankie de Jong, and I think he is a really good kind of solid base midfielder without really having that punching power, that really peak power that kind of falls into the same sort of level as someone like a Moises Caicedo or even a Bruno Guimaraes. So I've got a lot of guys that are, I would say they're a bit more fixture sensitive, as it were. But I really need to dig deep, because sometimes when these guys are ordered by their last 15 average performance or whatever it might be, they can kind of get all over the shop. And again, same as Frimpong, I definitely want Florian Wirtz coming into my first squad at home against Bournemouth, making their Premier League debut for Liverpool. But again, similar to defence, that first spot in midfield is quite easy to fill. The second one, really need to get a good feel for it. Now, I'm really, really, really tempted to play Marius Broholm. He's been really ever-present in pre-season for Lille. I was a big fan of this guy at Rosenborg, and I think Lille have got a good track record of adapting that type of player to be Ligue 1 level. I really like Marcos Llorente. It's a very good fixture. He'll be playing right back as well, so should get lots of AA, and if he can get a decisive, he'll probably drop in a big score. I do like De Jong. I do like Caicedo. Bernardo, faux pas there, apologies. I'm a big fan of, can be exciting, Bruno Guimaraes. I've got lots of guys here that there's a strong case for. Maybe Zubimendi could come into the mix. Lucas Paqueta, now free of all of his charges and whatever, away to Sunderland, could be a big game for him. And then we've got a kind of best of the rest of some of these other guys kind of lying around that are not going to get into Team 1, but we're certainly thinking about for the depth in the squad. And I think for this second spot, because so many of them are a wee bit kind of flaky or whatever, I am going to go for the Frankie de Jong play, because I do think Barcelona away to Mallorca, he should get a bucket of AA. They'll be on the ball a lot, they'll be dominating possession, and the sort of passing that he was getting involved in towards the back end of the season, as you've seen from his scores there, lend himself to some very nice scoring. So if I can get some big punching power from the likes of Guardiola, Frimpong and Wirtz, I don't mind taking a slightly safer play on one card, because what I've experienced so far in SO7 is 7 starters is a really important metric, point number 1. And then the second point is how good do they score? Do you nail your captain? And then how well did everyone else do? So we're trying to give ourselves the best opportunity of success possible. Rafinha has to be the first striker on the team sheet for me, but we do have so many other really good forward options, and I would say we've got some really good forward options. Wow, it's not really that deep in fact, is it? But I think we've got some really good ones that are better than some of the midfielders that we've just seen. I don't think this is a triple mid or a triple defence build that I've got at the tip of my fingers here. I think we go for Rafinha, and then how do we not have Cherki in Team 1? Again, Premier League debut playing Wolves. I've just got a feeling he could absolutely rinse. Now, across this entire lineup here, who could be captain? It could be Cherki, it could be Rafi, it could be Guardiola, it could be Wirtz. We really could captain, I would say, 4 out of the 7 players here with a good degree of confidence and, really good finger cross opportunity to go on and kick on. I think I'm going to captain Rafinha, because I just think the Barcelona machine away to Mallorca, first game of the season, I think that could be really good for him. I'm super tempted to captain someone like Cherky or Wirtz. Maybe I do go with Wirtz because he's at home. I might toss and turn on this before the game week closes, but Rafinha was an absolute phenom for me last season, had an amazing season, and I only see him picking up where he left off, to be quite honest with you, and especially playing Mallorca, the amount of chances he's going to create, I think his AA is going to be through the roof, and it is just, can he get that one decisive really? So that's a good start. I really like my first team. Barcelona ball is got a puncher's chance for sure. All these games, or not all of them, sorry, I beg your pardon, but the majority of them are on Saturday. We have a little bit of Friday night action with Liverpool, and then Sunday with All Black, so that'll be a nice kind of weekend watch, as it were. I think Luis Jr. comes in as the second goalkeeper quite comfortably. Let me just double check that really fixture. Away to Rennes, yeah, I think at home to Oviedo is much, much better. Now, the rest of these defenders, like I already mentioned, with the first team, I do feel that they're quite sensitive to the fixture. But, you know, we have that goalkeeper in a really good spot, and we actually have Rafa Marin as a little goalkeeper-defender play here, so I quite like that to get us going. And this then makes me think, do you know what, let's just have another stable, solid defender that should rack up some pretty powerful all around and is in a pretty dominant team. We have Ronald Araujo, who was a summer acquisition for me for this type of purpose, so I feel that gives us a nice solid base. Now, we might need to take some chances in midfield to get some peak scores, to get some really top end output here across the board. And again, the likes of Broholm, Caicedo, Llorente all kind of come back into the thinking again, as does someone like Paqueta perhaps. And the trouble I've got with this spot here is I just know someone is going to smash, I don't want to say unexpectedly, but maybe isn't totally forecasted here. Maybe somebody like Paqueta or maybe even Javi Guerra. I expect that this kind of now the trickle down of who I pick in midfield is going to be quite tough, and it's going to be really difficult to nail. And you know, Man City, I would really like to pick Bernardo in here, but between like the whole Man City team, I've got Guardiola in the first team, but he's by no means properly nailed on. We might need to be a little bit agile with that defender spot, but I don't think I could put Bernie in here. I think I need to go with someone like Caicedo, who's just like super safe, definitely going to play and has got great scoring potential. And then I do really like the look of Llorente in that fixture. I think that's a play that could work out quite nicely. And then the forward option actually gets quite easy for this because we have Nicolas Pepe playing for Villarreal, same as Luis Jr. and Rafa Marin here in a very favourable fixture against Real Oviedo. And then as I scroll through this, I really just cannot take myself away from thinking that Lucas Paqueta is just going to show up in the first match of the season, playing Sunderland, who've had so many transfers this window. I'm sure Sunderland will, you know, give as good as they get and all the rest of it, but you know, when you sign that many players, there's no guarantee they're going to hit the ground running and be absolutely formidable. Picking the captain for this is quite tough. I think it has to be Nicolas Pepe, just on the AA scoring profile he has, and just if he gets one decisive, brilliant. If he gets two, absolutely fantastic. And then we're just kind of hoping everyone else can deliver those upper solid scores. So for team 2, triple midfield, I don't mind that. I am keeping one eye on the Guardiola Bucks. I just think that City rotation is probably going to bite me in the bum. And then once we get to team 3, we might now feel where the depth is in the squad. We can play really in goals. He's a nice safe option. I think I'm going to go for safe and reliable, and I'll take Starfelt at home to Getafe. I really like Trippier to start the season, the way his pre-seasons went. I think Newcastle, despite all the kind of noise and everything that's going around, are not in a terrible spot necessarily. At point of recording, Szoboszlai is projected to play for Liverpool. Does that mean I should play him over Frenkie de Jong in the first team? I'm not so sure, because I'm not too sure he is a 90-minute player as he sits at the moment. But I think if he is to start on Friday night, could be quite effective in a team like this. And, you know, has good AA and everything else, but maybe loses a little bit of that set-piece utility. We actually have Rodrigo Riquelme down here. Now, I think he's going to play actually really well for Betis. I don't mind sliding him in here, and then we can pair him in midfield with another Newcastle player to go alongside that Kieran Trippier and Bruno Guimaraes. There are some strikers here I would just love to play for a variety of different reasons, but ultimately I think it has to be Amine Gouiri into this one. We've got a little Marseille goalkeeper striker thing on the go again, and Gouiri was very, very good for me. But again, I'm feeling that kind of pressure on the depth not really being there when I'm looking at my extra spot. Who's a guy that I would hope and expect that would, you know, kick ass and take names rather confidently? I don't mind Zubimendi against Man United. That could work out quite nicely, but both teams are a rather unknown element coming into the season. Pepelu, could be on for a bit of a season. Maybe he's worth a shout in a team like this. I was really geared up for this video to really rely upon my Matt O'Reilly's, because he does look quite nailed on for Brighton this weekend. But at point of recording, the latest reports we've had is that Juve are circling, and that might be a move that happens quite quickly. So I don't want to totally get into bed with that, as it were. So I don't mind playing Kaoru Mitoma in the same sort of vein. Good game at home at Fulham, should play it and can be quite effective with just the one decisive. And again, the captain choice is really tough here, but I think we have to go with Captain Guiri just for how amazing he was for us last year. And this team 3 is actually quite punchy, isn't it? It's definitely not got the obvious potential to outperform the previous lineups that we've had here. And glancing at the 3 of them lined up together, I'm not too sure there's much I would really alter in and around this, to be honest. And then for the 4th team, this is the real test of strength here. Pau Lopez might play for Betis, but we know Anthony Lopez will play for Nantes. Valdemarson might play for Brentford. But we're just going to go for safe and reliable on this one, and we'll just go by Anthony Lopez, although he's probably going to get smashed because he doesn't need to worry about conceding 3 goals really doing him. It might not be that bad, you know, playing PSG. It might be just about savable. We've got another Starfelt if we wanted to lean on him again. We've got guys like Lenormand and Jose Gaya that could be quite solid. Robertson's not expected to play. Gutierrez has just moved to Napoli. Botman's injured, probably not going to play this game. And Aguerd should play for West Ham. And I can't lie, not many of these guys really fill me with a lot of faith, and it does show that we're at the final kind of team, as it were. I think someone like Manu Sanchez, one of these kind of punchy, kind of like lesser kind of scene players, could be a nice little differential if he could pop in with a big score. He's just not got too much of that in his game. But I think we'll play it safe. We'll go with Lenormand. He's away, pretty decent fixture. Probably gets out with the clean sheet bonus, which is what we're all about. And yeah, we might just put Aguerd in, because I think if he does play away to Sunderland, that could be a really good game for a guy like him, coming back to the Premier League with a point to prove after being out on loan at Sociedad last year. And yeah, no one else here really gets me excited, and it just further highlights I need more defence. We could play Starfelt. Maybe we'll rotate him in closer to the deadline if it feels that Aguerd is maybe a bit too questionable. But in the midfield for this team, I really want to play Ao Tanaka. If he has a good game in the Premier League and I've not got him in a lineup, I will be disappointed. And in the second midfielder spot here, I'm very, very, very torn. Zubimendi, Soboslai, Pepelu, Paddy Roberts, maybe even squeeze the Matt O'Reilly in just in case he plays. But I think with the last team, because of the strength it is, I'll take some chances with this one, and I'll play Bernardo Silva and Jeremy Doku in this one, who probably both feature. We just don't know if they're definitely going to start, but we'll just then cross our fingers on them turning up and doing the damage for us. Oyarzabal, the penalty taker, is a decent shout. If Savio didn't have these transfer links to Tottenham this week, I'd probably just throw him in and just say, let's roll with the punches, let's go with it. Just got a Griezmann, barely been able to use him, and it doesn't look like he's going to play this weekend from the start at the very least anyway. But you know, is that a bad thing? Griezmann off the bench later in the match, that's not, you know, that's not a bad one. Javi Guerra has got a lot made of him, he's just signed a new contract. This final spot is really tough because without any games played, without any form to back some of these guys up, some new managers, some new formations, etc., it's a bit of a tough one. Do you know, same way that I've put Tanaka in this one, I really just want to put Paddy Robertson. But I think I'm going to use my better judgment. I'm going to put in Pepelu because he's a bit of a set-piece guy, and it might just give us that kind of steady floor to get off the ground with. I think I'd have to captain Doku in this circumstance as well. Now, I really actually like the way these teams have fleshed out, and if I can get to the deadline believing all these guys are likely to start, if not nailed on to start, then I think between these 4 teams we could have a really good start to the season. Like I mentioned in the intro, the whole point, the whole objective of this strategy is to win in-season cards as quickly as possible, so I don't need to buy them. But these cards will be won in the champion region. They could be Premier League, they could be La Liga, they could be Ligue 1, they could be Bundesliga. Won't be Serie A, of course, but we're going to need to win a lot of cards so we can build a coherent strategy, because we cannot just play champion Euro in season. Any in season cards we win, we need to drive them into a specific league competition. Now, I think it's worth showing at this point, I do have another layer of depth in and behind the squad when Bundesliga does come back. Some of these guys might transfer around, might become more viable or less viable or whatever. But when Bundesliga comes back, I do feel that 4-team build that we've just did will get an extra level of quality added to it in a number of different positions and will be extra formidable. But I have already tried to get into the transfer market and pick up guys as they move who are in season that are currently like a bit of a bum or a bit of a dud in their current squad. I got Odsonne Edouard on the hunch or on the rumour he was going to be making his way to Girona. that rumour's kind of fizzled out, so I'm not too sure that's still going to happen. Big fingers crossed. I think Eddie would do well in Spain. I think Girona would be a really good fit for him, and he could be a very good in-season La Liga forward if that move happens. And Baptiste Santamaria, who is an OG on this channel, if you go all the way back through the annals of time. We profiled this guy when he was at Angers on a different football platform that's no longer with us. He's just moved to Valencia, and in his his signing press conference or whatever, he was talking about how generations of his family are from Valencia. He's really happy to move back there, and he is like a rock solid CDM, like could do high AA on passing and double doubles and all that kind of thing, and is maybe going to get like 10 decisives over the season. So again, for a solid stable kind of in-season card, we picked him up for a tenner. That could be something that looks really interesting and exciting. Not projected to start the season, but that could be a player we grow into, same as Edward. And I'll be looking out for more players like this that are undervalued in their current situation, and with the transfer become a lot more viable and are become a credible option for SO5 in season. But that's going to be a slowly but surely process as we get through the back end of the transfer window, as more and more early access cards come out. And where we're sitting right now with the budget limited stuff we've been building on the channel that I've had a lot of fun with, we've got a fully fledged MLS in-season thing to go after hot streaks for, and we've now got our champ SO7 stuff in the mix to complement all the Celtic stuff that's been running in SO7 All-Star, as well as in-season streaks and everything like that to kick off the season so far. It feels like everything's falling into place. Once we've got the Bundesliga back, we're going to get a complete picture of the strength and depth that we've got going into the season, and then it's a case of filling those classic gaps if and when we can with cheaper cards that are older to try and win those in-season cards. I'm buzzing. I'm excited. I can't wait for the deadline show on Friday. Make sure to tune into it, because this week it's going to be Sorare 26 is open for business for game week 1, and it is going to be absolute fire. I look forward to seeing all of you there on Friday as well, of course. Let me know your thoughts and feelings on the squad. Was there any selection things you'd have done differently? I'm not asking you to build my teams, but like in that sense of like, I wouldn't have played triple mid, or I wouldn't have done double forward, or any stuff like that. Thoughts, feelings, hot takeaways, strategy chat. Look forward to catching all that in the comment section of the video. On screen and now some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more content like this. Hit the like button if you did enjoy the video, of course. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.